Hail Satan, live from the devil's shed. How much more ridiculous does this fucking nonsense have to get? Eh? It should be becoming really apparent now, how these manipulative people and these players are trying to play the game. Okay? Um, it's absolute, I dare say, total ridiculous, right? Tattoos on somebody's body is an artistic expression. The artwork on my body is through my experience and my learning, right? Now, understanding Levian Satanism and reading into stuff like that was part of my journey, okay? And guys like Jed and these people who are fearmongers, who want to try and steer people away from these things and paint people in a certain light, these are the players, these are the manipulators. These are the players who involve lesser magic, and I'll get to what these terms mean. It's basically through manipulation. You gain things through manipulation of others' will, And greater magic is when you use, trinkets and rituals and stuff to empower yourself to get yourself into a place of belief in order for you to achieve things, And the reason that I went and looked at these things is because, they were always termed as evil and these are Satanists, devil worshipping, sacrificing children and animals. And, so for me, I remember at the time being, I'm going to read this and it's going to be scary. And then the more I started to realise it, I went, you know what, this is like a book of logic and common sense, which basically what it is. So, and guys like Jed, they dig themselves their own graves, and all this has done is opened up a great opportunity for me to talk about this stuff. For one, right, I'm not part of any organisation or group. I don't advocate anybody's philosophy or any of these things. Again, guys like Anton LaVey are coming from a place of not knowing where they are, right? It's like all these ideologies are garnered from confusion and guessing at life and what's life about, But somebody like LaVey and other people who have come up with it, which is basically the golden rule, by the way. It's like a blueprint for common sense and what you experience in your life. So we'll have a wee talk. We'll have a wee look at some of this stuff. Um, as I say, the golden rule, right? And this whole thing. Let's clear this up as well, okay? There's a couple of points. The stuff that I'm going to talk about, these people don't believe in gods and devils and all this kind of stuff, Manipulators will have you believe in higher powers and entities, because they need you in a state of disempowerment. If you're in a mind frame of there's a god or there's a devil, then you're saying to yourself that you're nothing and that there's higher powers, above you, and you're just subservient to these powers. It's total nonsense. So for one, they don't believe in literal gods and devils. And as I say, for me, when I started reading it, it was like a common sense blueprint, the golden rule. And one of the other things we'll clear up is do as thou wilt, right? And I've said it before, and anybody's free to refute this, okay? But do as thou wilt is not an ideology, it's an observation of the reality that you live in, right? Everything has the will, and whatever the will is, it will achieve that, right? A lion has the will and the necessity to kill a baby gazelle, slaughter it, and it doesn't fear, being judged or any of these things. And it's the same for us. At the end of the day, that's the reality. I don't get my moral coding from some religious book or something that somebody had to teach me. I learned these things on my own. Behaviours and realising how people treat other people and how people treated you, and you build up this, I'm going to treat people the way they're treating me, and I expect the same back and stuff. So it's not about sacrificing goats and children and all these things. If you actually read, especially guys like Anton LaVey, it stays quite clearly, it's about being responsible and understanding, the limits and the levels and being able to reciprocate between people. Women have to be revered, animals have to be revered, and children have to be revered. you know, placed in a pedestal. You know, it's like people automatically hear these things and they're thinking devil worship, and you know, let's get serious. Psychopaths will hide behind any mask or any label in order to try and escape being caught for what they've been up to, you know. And you'll hear these people saying that they don't want to be around people who sacrifice all the animals and children and stuff any more than anybody else does, you know. The reason that they wanted to scare you away from these people is because they don't want you having common sense and critical thought, you know. They need you subservient in a place of fear so that you can be controlled. No? So you need to ask yourself the questions like guys like Jed and these people who try and paint this in a negative light, because it's anything but negative, you know. It's a subject that, you know, requires a greater discussion, and I don't really want to get right into it because I'm no part of any of these groups or anything. As I say, I understood the philosophy, and a lot of it twigged with me, you know. I mean, how else can you live? Oh well, you treat others the way you treat yourself. You have self-respect, you have respect for others, you don't cross the boundaries. If you do, then you expect the same in return. I mean, it's like balance. Do you know what? I'm going to go and I'm going to read out the 11 Satanic Rules of Earth, right? This is based on Anton LaVey's work, no anybody else's, you know. And again, I'm not advocating these people. I don't know them personally. I don't know how Anton LaVey or any of these people were in their personal life, you know. But they were looking for philosophy. They're trying to make sense of the world they were in. And they're coming from a time where the church was imposing, and that was the main rule, you know. So part of his gimmick was to call it Satanism in order to cause a ruckus and have a bit of showmanship, you know, because it would cause a stir, just as it still does to this day when you mention Satanism, because people are equating psychopaths with Satanism, and that's not the point. And as I said before, psychopaths will hide behind any mask, right? So, the 11 Satanic Rules of Earth. Do not give opinions or advice unless you are asked. Okay, so that's simple. You don't go butting into Andy's business, you know, unless they're involving you in it or they ask your opinion. Okay. Do not tell your troubles to others unless you're sure they want to hear them. Yeah, because you get so many of these clingy people who want to play on drama, you know, and get attention by always being in a situation of being a victim, you know, which is, you know, plenty of people have experienced these people. When in another's lair, show him respect, or else do not go there. You know, again, more self-responsibility, more self-awareness to understand your situation, your position, and other people who are round about you. If a guest in your lair annoys you, treat him cruelly and without mercy. Right? Now, people will interpret that as you can be violent towards them. You know, if somebody's violent to you in your home, then you have the right to defend yourself. Somebody's been ignorant and abusive to you in your own home, then you treat them back and you ask them to leave. You know, you just give back what you're getting. Okay. Do not make sexual advances unless you are given the mating signal. Right. So, no raping. You know, again, self-awareness, self-understanding. You know, self-awareness of other parties and the signals that they're giving you and the messages that they're giving you. Do not take that which does not belong to you unless it is a burden to the other person and he cries out to be relieved. So no stealing, you know. And again, not imposing on anybody's free will unless they're asking you to do something for them. Simple. Acknowledge the power of magic you have employed. It's successfully to obtain your desires. If you deny the power of magic after having called upon it with success, you will lose all you have obtained. I'll go back into this, what they're talking about with magic, you know, so we'll go by that one just now. Do not complain about anything to which you need not subject yourself. Yep. So, you know, if it's something that's not in your life and it's not imposing your free will, what's your problem? Okay? Just the same as we point out, you know, in this flat earth thing, we have these insecure folks who are around badgering and me, you know, if it's not imposing their free will, why are they bothering themselves with it, you know? But they constantly subject themselves to it which tells you that they're insecure. Number 9, do not harm little children. Self-evident, you know, more common sense. You know, and these things didn't have to be instilled in me through some religious coding. These things were just with me from the start. Do not kill non-human animals unless you are attacked or for your food. Okay, so there again, respect nature. Do not abuse nature. You know. When walking in open territory, bother no one. If someone bothers you, ask him to stop. If he does not stop, destroy him. Okay, again, we're talking about imposing on your free will. You know, if you're out in the street and you're bothering nobody and people are pushing themselves upon you violently, whatever, you know, then you have to deal with that situation. And there's a difference with name calling and verbals. You know, people should have the ability to just let that go. You know, sticks and stones. You've heard the saying. So, you know, I mean, that's basically it. It's a very simple ideology or a philosophy. You know, and we'll get into the magic stuff, right? Because this is the things that people don't get. And again, I don't really want to get right into this. People are free to go and understand it for themselves. Don't listen to hearsay. Don't listen to stories or books that were written on people's opinions about the actual subject. Go and look at the subject yourself. You know, if you have a question in mind and you want to understand it, get yourself a copy of the Satanic Bible or go online. I'm sure it will be there. So, and again, you know, this whole attempt at, as I say, look at people's content. You know, what is the Jed guy offering? He's got nothing. He's butthurt because, you know, I called out and I went through the process, you know, of what he was pushing, and now he's upset. So, or whatever, or deliberately pushing an agenda because he's now trying to portray me in a certain light. Now, this tells you that he expects people to be gullible enough to fall for that. And unfortunately, some people will, you know, but that's their path and they will need to learn eventually. Again, it's a blueprint. If we have to live in societies and these situations, then I don't see what anybody's problem is with common sense. You know, golden rule: treat others as you would have them treat you, vice versa. You know, if you're running about a maniac and you're killing people, then you expect to be killed, right? If you're being nice, polite, and gesturing, these kind of things, you know, some people will reciprocate, which is good. Then you have a common ground. Some people don't. Right, that's their ignorance and their choice. But then you have this again, the self-respect to know that you don't put your attention to the people who are not reciprocating. It's as simple as that. So I'll go through, you know, some of the other bits. Hang on. You know, and again, you know, symbols and images, that this is the thing about the magic that I'll get into. So, greater magic, you know, symbols, you know, sigils, whatever it might be, a cup, a model, whatever it is, if you put belief and desire into a certain symbol or whatever it is, then that symbol, every time you look at it or you sit and you do your wee ritual, is going to help to fuel your imagination, your belief, whatever it takes for you to get to a point, a place in your mind where you can get things happening, you can achieve things. That's purely what it is. It's hang on. Sorry. You know, people know about the placebo effect, so you have to ask yourself, well, why does the placebo? What is the placebo effect? Well, for me, it's the level of belief that a person has in said practice. So, take the medical world, you know, the mainstream medical world. So many people have a core belief, a strong belief that when they go there, these people are trustworthy, they're going to help them, whatever they say is going to achieve, and whatever medicine they give them is going to work. Now, when they have that real belief, these things will work, as they proved with the placebo. Go and look at the studies. Certain people were given different things, and because the people had an investment in belief in somebody with a white coat and a stethoscope, that's enough for them to think when they're taking the pill, the sigil, the symbol, when they're taking the pill, that it's going to help them. And that power of belief has an internal effect. Okay? Now, it's another thing to think that your belief can affect other people. Your action has to do that, but we have the ability to affect ourselves internally on how we think. It proves when people are stressed and depressed, their body suffers, everything suffers. So, when they talk about this in the ritual magic, it's whatever you need to stimulate to fuel that belief, to fuel that desire to make it happen. Lesser magic, on the other hand, is when you start manipulating and using trickery to get a desired effect from other people. So really you're manipulating people's will on a kind of subliminal level, as guys like Jed are doing, as I've pointed out. This is a question for natural science. It's about objectivity. Does it matter? Even if I was sitting here with devil horns, and going, oh, hail Satan, that doesn't affect my contribution to this question, But you have guys like Jed, right, who will probably claim they're like Christian and have good values and stuff, but yet here they are trying to manipulate an emotional reaction and manipulate people's perception of certain individuals using underhanded, sneaky tactics. For me, that's a sign of psychopathy. These people display these behaviours willingly and openly, especially when they've been called out. As we're now seeing. It's like the liars and the psychopaths are being cornered, and they'll throw anything to try and cause confusion. So, let's see. And again, it's such a, there's so much to be said on this, and I don't want to keep skimming over it, but the main point is that, I'm no one here, and never have been trying to manipulate anybody's will through sneaky tactics or focusing on anybody's personality. The proof's in the pudding, okay? Go and have a look at what characters like Jed are up to. His latest video proves it. Now he's trying to portray me as a bully, as a Satanist, as part of some other group. Just nonsense. So, sorry, I'm just having a look through this because I need to find certain things that I'm looking for. Reading these books in my journey was a great relief, because I was seeing that people could see through the things I was seeing through. The religions don't make sense. Why are people treating each other the way they are? And I always had that. I always knew, well, I'm genuine and I'm nice and I'm respectful and I don't cross any boundaries. Why are people not reciprocating that? And in an ideal world, that's the way it would be. But we're not in an ideal situation here. There is psychopaths who don't abide by the golden rule or any of these things. They'll just manipulate and step on people's toes any way they see fit. And the majority of it is done through manipulating people's will. That's why we're in this mess. They've manipulated people's will. They've made people believe and adopt, certain ideas about life and how life should be and all these different things, that are not through people's, having an open, free foundation to begin with. It's manipulated generations ago, so they're born into it, which makes it harder for them to see. So, theory and practice. Okay, let's have a look here. There's loads of things in these things that there's blurred lines. Okay, that you have to think through in order to understand. And again, it's an ideology. It's things that are put out there that people will you know, think they understand, and then they'll go and behave in a certain way, just like, you know, certain Christians or whatever, you know, Muslim, whatever, you know, they think they understand their religion and they go and act upon it when really it's detrimental to the whole message that they thought they were carrying. You know, and that's a problem for everything. You know, even in something like football, you know, I'm a football fan, but you get certain groups that ruin it or tarnish it because of their behaviours, and unfortunately, that's just part of life. So, I'm going back to this because it's a subject that I think we should cover, you know, and people shouldn't be scared to go and understand and look at it. Satan represents indulgence instead of abstinence, right? Okay, so you know that's basically saying, you know, well, you're born as this body, you know, you have these desires and wishes, and but they've got this contradiction happening where you have to. But will that help me to get into the next life, and will I be judged in the next life, and blah 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 blah. You know, again, it's about understanding yourself and being responsible with yourself. You know, indulge in whatever you see fit as long as you're not imposing on anybody else's will. You know, if your actions are having an effect on somebody, then you speak to them about it. You know, it's not like you know, these people are doing anything criminal. Satan represents vital existence instead of spiritual pipe dreams. Okay, so that's just a point I made. You know, you're here and you're in this life and you're in each moment and each time. So why are you second guessing everything that you're doing in case of some repercussions in some afterlife? You know, again, you don't need a religious book to have a moral code. You garner that on your own through your own experience. Satan represents undefiled wisdom instead of hypocritical self-deceit. Yeah, so that's basically be totally honest with yourself. You know, face up to who you are and what you are through each moment in time as you progress and you change. You know, and I've always said that. You know, I say it to my kids. You know, the worst thing that you can do is lie to me, because that breaks a trust. If you can be honest and open about who you are, without trying to hide it and manipulate it, then I can accept that, because then I know that you're secure with yourself and you're comfortable with who you are and you're freely expressing it, you know. And then I know, based on that, if that doesn't suit me, then I know where I can keep you at arm's length and not have you involved in certain parts of my life. So again, it's just more common sense. Satan represents kindness to those who deserve it instead of love wasted on ingrates. You know, that goes back to a previous point that I made. You know, I don't go about just being nice and genuine and generous to every single person, because some people don't deserve that. You know, I will take everybody at face value at first and put my hand out, you know, but then you see the types of characters there and you learn and you go, well, I'm not going to, you know, give my heart or my attention or my kindness to these people because they don't appreciate it. You know, they kick it back up, whatever. You know the types of people, you've experienced it. Satan represents vengeance instead of turning the other cheek. Okay, now this is another one where it can have bloodlines, you know, because again it's about managing the levels. You know, okay, if somebody's cheeky to me, I'll give them cheek back. You know, show them a mirror. You know, and if they just keep continuing, then I'm not going to keep, you know, getting into it with them. But by you doing that and then expressing it, it gives that person who's maybe never experienced somebody standing up to them the chance to view themselves, and then they can evolve in their mind and progress on with it. So, you know, vengeance doesn't mean, oh, well, you spilled a cup of tea on my carpet, so I'm going to murder you. You know, that's just crazy stuff, you know. Satan represents responsibility to the responsible instead of concern for psychic vampires. Okay, so again, common sense, you know, reciprocating. Who I am, you know, if I give it out and I get it back, then that's fine. You know, I understand, they understand me, I understand them, and there's an easy communication going on between you. Rather than, you know, my responsibility being on people who are just drama and want to complain and whine and manipulate to get attention. You know, I'm not going to give my attention to people like that. I don't have patience for it. No. Satan represents man as just another animal, sometimes better, more often worse than those that walk on all fours. Yeah, definitely. Who, because of his divine spiritual and intellectual development, has become the most vicious animal of all. Yeah, because, you know, certain types of character learned how to manipulate, you know, in order for them to achieve what it is they wanted. Satan represents all of the so-called sins as they all lead to physical, mental or emotional gratification. Yep. So, you know, again, you're in this body, you have these desires, you know, whatever they might be. And again, it's about self-responsibility. If your desires means that you're imposing on somebody else's free will, then it's wrong. You know, you shouldn't be doing that. You know, as I say, you find common interests with people who are like-minded, and you live out your desires, your fantasies, whatever, you know, what you're up to. You know, some guys go down the pub and like to socialise with other guys, so you know, they're not imposing on anybody else's free will. It's the same thing. You know, people will view that and go, "Well, guys shouldn't be in the pub drinking me," so they'll look at that as a sin or something wrong. But it's, you know, the only people that do that stuff are insecure, controlling people, right? So, and again, I don't want to get right into this, so where are we? Let's look at some of the sins that they talk about, right? Which again, for me, a lot, it's just common sense. The top of the list for satanic sins, the cardinal sin of Satanism is stupidity, right? It's too bad that stupidity isn't painful. Ignorance is one thing, but our society thrives increasingly on stupidity. It depends on people going along with whatever they are told. The media promotes a cultivated stupidity as a posture that is not only acceptable but laudable. Satanists must learn to see through the tricks and cannot afford to be stupid. So again, you know, here, you know, back then at this time, you know, this guy's talking about how, you know, media have cultivated how we behave, you know, what should be important to us, you know, what we should accept scientifically, morally, all these different things, you know, which is nonsense. Pretentiousness. Empty posturing can be most irritating and isn't applying the cardinal rules of lesser magic. One equal footing with stupidity for what keeps the money in circulation these days. Everyone's made to feel like a big shot, whether they can come up with the goods or not. Yeah, so, you know, you see that all the time, this sense of entitlement with people. Anyway, look, I don't want to digress into this. You know, the points are there. These people like Jed are just manipulative. He has no content. He's not come back with, you know, he's trolled through my videos, and the only thing he can come up with, you know, is encouraging people to read these things, you know. And as I say, a blueprint for society, if we have to live in a society, you know, there's absolutely nothing wrong with it, you know. It's a perfect blueprint in an ideal situation. Check it out for yourself. I'm just having a look to see if there's anything here that's worth reading that can maybe stir up some conversation. Here we go, solipsism, right. Can be very dangerous for Satanists. Projecting your reactions, responses and sensibilities onto someone who is probably far less attuned than you are. It is the mistake of expecting people to give you the same consideration, courtesy and respect that you naturally give them, right? And that's what, you know, I experienced that in my life, and that was one of the lessons I had to learn. Because I am who I am, you know, I just expected that if I put that out there, people would just give me it back, and you know, and that wasn't the reality. And then it can be very dangerous, because if you keep putting yourself out there like for that, you know, you can be trampled on. People will abuse your trust, you know, especially these manipulative types. So, You know, that's a really great point. That's what I'm saying. You know, people need to read this stuff and understand what it's actually saying. You know, they won't. Instead, Satanists must strive to apply the dictum of "do unto others as they do unto you." It's work for most of us and requires constant vigilance, lest you slip into a comfortable illusion of everyone being like you. As has been said, certain utopias would be ideal in a nation of philosophers, but unfortunately, or perhaps fortunately, from a Machiavellian standpoint, we are far from that point. Okay, so, yeah, I've just said that exact thing. Self-deceit. It's in the 9 satanic statements, but deserves to be repeated here. Another cardinal sin. We must not pay homage to any of the sacred cows presented to us, including the roles we are expected to play ourselves. The only time self-deceit should be entered into is when it is fun and with awareness, but then it's not self-deceit. Okay, so people worship Celtic Football Club, right? It matters to them. It's like a sacred cow. You know, if they don't win, oh, it's terrible, and and they hate people who are opposed. They hate Rangers, and I mean, there's bigotry, you know, because they've deluded themselves to a false idol, you know. Whereas for me, you know, I go into it as fun, and I'm aware that that's what I'm entering into. I can go to Parkhead, you know, Celtic Park, and I can cheer and scream and yeah, and be down and sad and up and happy. As soon as that game's finished and I leave, that's it, it's over. Because that's the difference. You know, I went into it with awareness. I go into it with awareness. It doesn't rule me. I don't have any, you know, emotional attachment. So that's self-deceit. Okay. Herd conformity. That's obvious from a satanic stance. It's all right to conform to a person's wishes if it ultimately benefits you, but only fools follow along with the herd, letting an impersonal entity dictate to you. The key is to choose a master wisely instead of being enslaved by the whims of the many. Okay, and I think that speaks for itself. I don't really need to extrapolate on that. You know, as you're experiencing with this whole deceit and the lie of the globe and how everything's been manipulated to lie and to push a certain agenda, you know, this is why they don't want you reading this stuff, you know, because it's dangerous to them. If you become empowered, it's dangerous to them, right? They know they can't get away with it anymore. You know, that's why you can see like guys like Jed, that they have no logical comeback, they have nothing to refute, so the only thing they can try and do is attack and hope to get keep people in a state of emotional, you know, nonsense, can run in circles. Lack of perspective. Again, this one can lead to a lot of pain for Satanists. You must never lose sight of who and what you are and what a threat you can be by your very existence. We are making history right now, every day. Always keep the wider historical and social picture in mind. That is an important key to both lesser and greater magic. See the patterns and fit things together as you want the pieces to fall into place. Do not be swayed by herd constraints. Know that you are working on another level entirely from the rest of the world. Okay. So again, it speaks for itself. You know, this is about being an individual, being independent, being respectful, being aware. That's what it's about. Okay. Forgetfulness of past orthodoxies. Be aware that this is one of the keys to brainwashing people into accepting something new and different, when in reality it's something that was once widely accepted but is now presented in a new package. We are expected to rave about the genius of a creator and forget the original. This makes for a disposable society. So, and again, you can see this happening. This was the point I made, you know, about focusing on certain people, about them drinking pee or whatever it is, you know. And again, all these things stem from a place of bewilderment. All these behaviours are coming from a place of people not knowing and having the foundations of where they are. You know, and what they're trying to do is keep you in that state of mind that got you in that position in the first place, you know, and keep it going. Counterproductive pride. That first word is important. Pride is great up to the point you begin to throw out the baby with the bathwater. The rule of Satanism is if it works for you, great. When it stops working for you, when you've painted yourself into a corner and the only way out is to say, I'm sorry, I made a mistake, I wish we could compromise somehow, then do it. Right? So, again, taking responsibility, being a man or a woman or just a conscious mind, when you know you've overstepped the mark and you've made a mistake, let's accept it. Right? Again, I get back to the Jed character. You know, doesn't he want to progress? Doesn't he want to accept what he's got himself into? And he's just going to keep going and keep going and keep going and keep going. And that should tell you something. Lack of aesthetics. This is the physical application of the balance factor. Aesthetics is important in lesser magic and should be cultivated. It is obvious that no one can collect any money off classical standards of beauty and form most of the time, so they are discouraged in a consumer society. But an eye for beauty, for balance, is an essential satanic tool and must be applied for great magical effectiveness. It's not what's supposed to be pleasing, it's what is. It's what is. Aesthetics is a personal thing, reflective of one's own nature, but there are universally pleasing and harmonious configurations that should not be denied. Again, I really don't need to extrapolate on that. Now, these things, that was the 9 satanic sins. You can go to the Church of Satan website and read these things for yourself. Okay, so I'm reading that because Anton LaVey's stuff was part of my journey. I don't know about anybody else or whatever they pushed or what they pushed once Anton LaVey was dead or what they extrapolated on. But for me, it was very clear cut and very simple, right? I'm born here. This is the way it is, you know, and I identified myself with it. You know, I respected women, kids, animals, nature. I couldn't understand why people were being so cruel, you know. But these guys and these types of philosophers helped me a great deal to progress. So don't be scared of it. It's worth checking out, and hopefully I'm going to insert some wee snippets and stuff through this for people to have a read of. It's again, you know, repeat it. Psychopaths are everywhere and they'll hide behind any label, you know. If they're trying to keep you away from things that will empower you and take you to a place of logical, critical thought, then, you know, be suspicious, be very suspicious of them, you know. When people start to understand this language, these people will become very apparent as what's happening now, and they're not even smart enough to see that. They just expect you to be silly, daft, you know, to believe it. His whole game is to sway people to discredit me without any content, to try and discredit you because of symbols that you have tattooed onto your body, which is artwork, which is representative of my journey. You know, if people want to understand what the tattoos mean to me, then ask. Don't take somebody else's word for it. You know, and if that's swaying you, and you see these people in the comments going, "Yeah, well done and well exposed," they are delusional idiots because they don't have a clue about anything. They don't know who I am. They've never came and asked me who I am or what any of this stuff means to me, or even tried to understand. You know, they just take things and know that people have got that in their psyche. If they hear Satanism, they're going to go and lose their fucking shit. It's fucking nonsense, man. Now, you're not going to progress unless you fucking start looking at this stuff. As simple as that. Let's have a look. Yeah, the golden rule, a basic principle which should always be followed to ensure success in general in a particular activity. Right? So, and again, you can go and you can read up what these magics are and what rituals are, you know. And again, I have to say it, You know, and you'll hear guys like Anton LaVey and his daughter, Zena LaVey, and these people who will say, you know, there's a great one on YouTube and it's called The First Family of Satanism, and it's an interview by a guy called Bob Larson, and he's interviewing Anton LaVey's daughter and another guy called Nicholas Schreck. Now, some of Nicholas Schreck's views and opinions are way out there, and I don't agree with everything the guy's got to say, but the go-between, you know, between these two opposing ideologies, the dualism, is fascinating to watch, and you can learn a lot from it. If you can remove your preconceptions and your emotional insecurities and view it with an open mind and listen to what's going on, you know, I think you'll find a lot in it. I found a lot in it, and I think it's worthy of having a look. So, and again, you know, the magic stuff, you know, look into it. There is absolutely zero proof for me that I can sit here and get into a, you know, throw out a curse wish or a ritual against some other person and see it manifest in their reality. The only way I've ever witnessed that is internally, you know. You know, if I want to be a sprinter or a fast runner, you know, I could use a cheetah, you know, a video of a cheetah, and I can imagine the movement of its body, the speed, and I can play with that. As a kid, you would imagine it as you were running, and it would give you that desire to run faster, you know, because you're using imagery and your imagination to fuel it, to make you go. That's what it's about, you know, pure and simple, you know, for you to achieve what you want to achieve, you know. But sitting going, oh, poor me, I wish I'm going to do a ritual and wish I had money, that's not how it works, you know. That's all the superficial, secret nonsense, you know. And again, you know, be very wary of this, you know, higher gods and devils and these higher entities and powers, because psychologically that's to disempower you, okay? If you believe you're at the mercy of some higher intelligence, you know, you're putting yourself right under straight away, you know. And is it any wonder people are being manipulated and controlled because they fall for these simple psychological tricks, right? There is nobody more powerful than you, right? And that's what I'm about, you know. I want critical thinking, empowered, free individuals who are not clinging and needy with each other, you know. We have our healthy respect and we help each other when it's required, you know. No carrying whiners and whingers and manipulators and controllers, you know. Get them to fuck. You know, that's why we're in this mess, because people like that have had success and they're fucking running the show. It's time for it to end. You know, these people, you know, had empathy. They had children, they had wives, you know. None of them are perfect either, you know. And again, don't go looking for slanderous stories about people, you know, because at the end of the day, you never knew them personally. You're taking somebody else's opinion, which is total lunacy. You know, look at the content, and then you'll understand why they get such a bad rap. Right? It's very, very clear. Okay, there's no worshipping a Satan and a devil for some, you know, evil purpose, because we're going to lock you into hell, you know. Guys like Jed don't have the ability to actually look at this realm, you know. And as I've said before, these are philosophies like LaVeyan Satanism and all these things. They come from a place of bewilderment. I'm not interested in any of these philosophy or religion anymore. It's time for us to know where we are so that we don't need any of that. No waiting for a saviour or looking for a bad guy to blame. Take responsibility for you, right? That's it. It's as simple as that. If anything, this whole mess, that's the lesson people really need to get. Self-responsibility. I'm just going to take a wee moment because you know, I don't want to leave anything uncovered with this. There's can't really think of anything much to say about it. You know, you just need to understand how this is working. Check out the golden rule, the golden law, golden ratio, golden act. You know, understand what these guys were saying. You know, but as I'm saying, it's a time now that we need to get rid of this, right? Being in bewilderment and no knowing. I'm sick and tired of it. It's time for us to know, to reconnect to what this reality is, you know, and what the fuck it's about. You know? And then we can make decisions on how we're going to live or whatever. You know, and that's the thing, you know, you want to talk about gods and devils and stuff, right, or evil or whatever, have a look at this realm, have a look at this place. As I said at the start of the video, do as thou wilt is not an ideology, it's an observation of the reality you're in right now, okay? You know, ask yourself where people are getting their morality from, right? Because I tell you what, if you're so blinded that you can't see that there's an elite circle of people who are doing as they will, they're not following any rules and laws, you know, they're creating wars, they're pushing this for their own agendas, whatever it is that they're up to, you know, that's the reality that you're in. It is do as thou wilt. Every animal is a testimony to that. Every living thing is a testimony to that. You know, they're not being ruled by questioning what they're up to. None of that's happening. So ask yourself, you know, if you believe in a higher mind or a godly type character, what kind of fucking mind would create this? So, deeper questions need to be answered, you know, and people need to start asking the questions in order for us to progress. You know, we find out where we are, you know, it'll connect us back to what this place really is. You know, there's significance, there's something being hidden, right? Whether that be at the north, the centre, the outside, wherever, we need the full exploration. No a band of merry men going in one direction, you know, it needs to be mass. That's it. And these players like Jed and all these other characters, you know, understand it and don't give them their place. Give them their place, put them right in their place. Don't let them away with it. You know, Jed has nothing. None of the trolls or these badgers have anything. Nothing. The only thing they can resort to is trying to tarnish a character. Fuck my character. Never mind any of that. It's what I'm saying that's important. It's the message. Okay? This'll probably go on if it's a subject. It's a subject that's quite big. So if there's anything I've missed, you know, I'll probably make other videos. Okay? And anybody that wants to talk or discuss it, please do. But please don't come with ignorance of the subject. Right? Understand it before you start to comment. You know, have a discussion. Don't let your insecurities just make you throw a defence or whatever. You know, we need to move past this. So, peace.